Hello everyone. It's Adrian and you're welcome welcome back to the channel where I talk about my unfiltered thoughts and opinions that nobody asked for. If that sounds like something that you're into, like and subscribe, and without further ado, let's get into today's episode. If you were to meet your younger self right now, if you were to cross paths with your younger self, do you think he or she would be proud of the person that you've become today? If you were to be put in the same room, with your younger self, do you think he or she would be proud of the man or the woman that you currently are? The man or woman that you've become, you know? Do you think so? Do you think that? Do you think he or she would be able to look at you with so much admiration because you became every single thing that he or she used to admire growing up, or what he or she always wanted you to be? Or will he or she look at you with utter disgust because you became every single thing that he or she used to hate? Let's get into it. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately. It's just something that has been popping up in my mind because I saw it somewhere. It was a video that I watched, and this girl, she was talking about, like, if you were to meet your younger self, do you think they would be proud of you? Do you think they would be proud of the person that you've become? And I'm just bringing and I'm flipping this question, asking you, do you think they would be proud of the person that you've become if you were to have a conversation with them in a room, talking about who they used to be and who you are now? Do you think they would love that? Do you think they would love you? Do you think they would love the person that you've become? And I'm gonna begin with myself. I'm gonna begin with myself, of course. Do I think my younger self would be proud of the person that I've become? And before I get into that, whenever I bring this topic, when I'm talking to people in my real life and I bring up this topic and I ask them, do you think our younger selves would be proud of the person that we've we've become? And with most people, the thing that they always say is, if I were to meet my younger self, I would I would like pew pew that little kid right in the head. I would not hug them. I would not be excited to see them because they were dumb and stupid and not smart, and they were a coward. They always say all these really really mean things about their younger self. And not to toot my own horns here or be one of those guys who would like have this big ego or think highly of themselves or anything like that. I'm not perfect, nobody is. I'm still a work in progress. And again, nobody's perfect. I'm still working on myself. There's always room for improvement, but I have so much respect and so much love for my younger self. I feel like if I were to meet them, forget about what they think about me, what I think of my younger self. If I were to meet them, I would just be so excited because, again, I have so much respect and love for my younger self. That kid was so confident and so daring, so loving, so respectful, so empathetic and compassionate. He was always willing to go out of his comfort zone. Again, I don't know, I just have so much admiration for my younger self. And again, this does not come from this place of like having a big ego or thinking that I'm better than anybody or anything like that. No, I just, whenever people talk about how much they don't like their younger self and how they were dumb and stupid, I cannot relate. I can't relate because I think that kid I think that kid is just so smart and daring and empathetic and loving. Of course is not perfect, nobody is. Again, there's always room for improvement because at the end of the day, we were all still kids, and we probably all did some dumb stuff and said something stupid or did something wrong or something that I don't know the people in our lives weren't proud of. But again, I feel like the good outweigh the bad. I feel like the good stuff that I did outweigh the bad stuff that I did, again, because nobody's perfect. We were all kids. We for sure did some dumb stuff when we were younger. Right now, me being the adult that I am, looking back, I mean, I don't know how old you are right now, but it doesn't really matter, it's irrelevant. But looking at the person that I am now, the adult that I've grown to be, and looking back at who I used to be, and just looking and reflecting at that kid, oh God, he was just so smart and witty and confident and daring, and he just had so much creativity and just so much curiosity. And I also like admire his humility and his ability to be able to like admit when he was wrong, and being able to like apologize and change for the better and do better. Again, I know nobody is perfect. I know I'm not. Nobody really is. But again, when people talk badly about their younger self, I cannot relate. I really can't, because man, again, this does not come from this place of ego or thinking that I was better than anybody. No, but again, I just have so much admiration for my younger self. Like so much admiration, to the point where even now, as an adult, being the adult that I am, sometimes when I don't feel my best, when I don't feel that confident, I always like to channel my younger self, because he's still here, he's still somewhere here, and he's still somewhere there in you, he or she is still somewhere there in you. So when I need that, when I need to feel, I guess, like that guy, like that dude again, I always channel my younger self. And again, man, I just have so much admiration for him, because I feel like he was too mentally and emotionally mature for his age. I mean, it's something that I used to get a lot when I was younger. It's like, oh, you're too mature for your age and blah, blah, blah. And, you probably heard that at some point in your life, but I used to hear that a lot when I was younger, because I used to like hang out with a lot of folks who were way older than me, and you always get the, oh, you're so mature for your age. And man, I really admire that about myself. I mean my younger self. And I also really admire how mentally and emotionally strong that kid is. The kid that I used to be, who was just so mentally strong, and now I'm able to look at all the things that I used to deal with when I was younger, and I just was like, how were you able, by how were you able, I mean, I'm talking in third person here, talking about my younger self, but how was he, I always ask myself how he was able to like handle all those tough situation and somehow still not lose his mind. He always used to like handle difficult situations that life used to throw at him, it's with so much grace and ease, and still be able to like find humor and laughter in it somehow, and always be able to find the good in bad situations. And I just really really admire that about my younger self. Again, I could go on and on about that, but that's what I think about my younger self. But what would he think about me? I really think that he would be surprised that I made it this far. I really think he would be surprised, like, oh, you really did make it this far. But I also don't think that he would be that surprised, because I feel like he understands what we are capable of. Or he would just be like, I'm kind of like surprised you made it this far, but also I'm not surprised, because I know that I'm you and you're me, and I know what we are capable of doing and capable of achieving and capable of overcoming, because I know and understand how resilient we are, you know. It's here in us, you know, and it has always been there, and it will always be there, you know. So that way we'll just be like, oh wow, you actually made it, you actually made it. And again, at the same time, he just would not be surprised that I made it, because again, you know, when you're young, you feel invincible, you know, you feel confident, you feel like you can do anything, you feel like you can achieve anything or be anybody. But as you get older and you start to see the world for what it is, you know, start to see life for what it is and people for who they are, sometimes you tend to kind of like lose that excitement and that sense of like invincibility and feeling like you can do anything or be anyone. You start to be like, you know what, I think it's time for us to be realistic and kind of like bring our expectations about ourselves and what we should be, and who we should be and what we should be able to achieve, and just like be realistic a little bit, you know. But God, I feel like now, looking back in who I am now, I feel like I kind of like lost that. I became like that, you know, where you're just like doubting everything. But also, I found that along the way where my younger self would just be able to look at me now and be like, see, I told you you'd be able to get there. I told you you'd be able to find that excitement again, or find that sense of self within yourself again, you know. And I just find that really I don't know. I'm proud of us. By us, I mean me and my younger self. So I feel like he would really love and be proud of the person and the young man that I've become. And yeah, I feel like I'm saying and a lot, but yeah, he would really, to say the least, he would be proud. He would be proud. Really, really, really proud. But enough of me. Let's get back to you. If you were to meet your younger self in a room, you know, be able to cross paths or be able to like have a conversation with them, do you think he or she would be proud of you? You know, you think they would be proud of the person that you've become? And you have to be honest with yourself on this. Do you think they would just look at you with like utter disgust because you became every single thing that they used to hate, or they will look at you with so much admiration because you became who they always wanted to become? And when I talk about that, I'm not always talking about you being able to like achieve all these like career goals or make so much money. No, that is not what I'm talking about, because I have not achieved like my career like goals and all the things that I want to achieve yet. But me being the person that I am now, and all the things that I've been able to like overcome and still be who I am today and find excitement in life and hold myself accountable, I feel like my younger self would look at me and be like, dude, I'm really proud of who we've become, you know. But now flipping this back to you, do you think they would be proud of you? Do you think they would be proud of the person that you've become? Or do you think they would just be like, man, you became who we used to hate, you know? Because I see that a lot. I see people growing up hating certain kinds of people only for them to grow up and end up like those very people, and it's always just like disappointing. Do you think your younger self would be disappointed? And if that's a yes, you have a lot of work to do, you know. You have a lot of work to do. And I think it's time you start working on yourself again, you know. I think it's time you start to like visit your younger self and ask yourself what used to excite you back then, and why you fell into this hole, and you became like this hot mess that your younger self used to like judge and like despise, and now you're like basically that person, that guy or girl. And just like be able to like reflect and be like, what went wrong here and what can I do to fix it, you know. And it's just the thought that I had, in my mind, and I just wanted to share this with you. I know I've done a lot of that self-reflection work, and it's always worth it. And I'm proud to say that he would be really proud of the person that I've become. But would he or she be proud of who you've become? I think it's a it's a good way to kind of like do some self reflection and see where you're at and where you're going. Do you think he or she would be proud of you? Would he? Would she? If not, then it's time to get to work, because it's not good. It never is good when we end up becoming the people whom we always used to hate and whom we used to judge. You grow up hating cheaters, but then you end up becoming one. You grow up hating abusers, then you end up becoming one. You grow up hating this and that, but then you end up becoming one. It's always so disappointing, and I don't want me and you to be a disappointment to our younger self. At least for now, I know I'm not. But it took a lot of work. It took a lot of hard work for me not to be a disappointment to my younger self. A lot. So yeah, that's something that I wanted to share, and it's just something that I like to do like every single month. And this is like a new month now, but yeah, I just like to hold me and you accountable, and ask ourselves, are we putting in the effort to like, day-to-day effort to like be the best versions of ourselves and just be better people in general. So yeah, that's it. That's all I wanted to talk about and share. Thank you for hanging out with me, of course. I just know when you will start doing the work, if you're even gonna do it, it's gonna get really ugly. Yeah, it's gonna get really ugly. But also, that's the beautiful part about it. You get to do that self-reflection work and be honest with yourself, even if it can be like daunting, and I know it's gonna be this like really messy process, but sometimes in order for you to like create something beautiful, you have to be messy. You have to allow yourself to be messy. It's like painting a beautiful painting. Before you can do that, you have to like get messy, with the painting, and have all the like be drenched in paint and all that kind of stuff and be messy. But yeah, you get the point. So yeah, that's all I wanted to share. Again, I love you. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you guys on the next one. So again, would he or she be proud of the person that you've become? If yeah, if that's a yes, good. Good job. I love you. Keep keep up the work. Keep going. And if that's a no, it's okay. There's still time. There's still time for you to be better. So yeah. Again, I love you. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you guys on the next one. So bye.